Okay, so we are back live. It is 8:03, so we apologize for the delay. So the motion that's coming up is moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Gorell, that the council approve the winter control plan attached to operations report SR-134-23 as the basis of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands winter maintenance activities, and that the winter control plan be recognized as a living document with an updated plan presented to council every 4 years. Just before the discussion, I really appreciate the work that Director Holiday has done on this to make the winter control plan more efficient, but also to put a provision in place that it comes back for revisitation here at this council table every 4 years, because I think it's just a marker to make sure that we're always on the same page. So thank you for those efforts. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Rowe.
Three sort of quick questions. Number one, was the money that was suggested in the plan, is that similar to previous years? That's the first question. Secondly, were the differences generally confined to the routing that was outlined to us last week? And third, when I read the document, and without overstepping, does this agree with the collective agreement of our union? Because as I was reading who does what and how that gets done and everything else, I wasn't sure if there was any reasonable aspect of a conflict. So I just wanted to feel confident that that had been wasn't important or had been dealt with. Thank you.
Okay. Director Holiday, do you have all your questions there? Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Worship. So the budget that has been shown in the financial implications does align with what we have included previously. That is actually what our 2023 budget is, and similar to what was previously.
I'm sorry, Dave. Is that similar to previous years?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Number two, this plan does include the planned routes. And one of the things that I should have included in my report today, I failed to, was that should we decide that doesn't make sense, then we will revisit this plan and come back to council with an update as a result of that. And then the third one, this does align with the collective agreement in terms of calling in the staff outside of hours and the requirements for providing that service.
And just to follow up on exact that, was the union part of this agreement here, or in any way, shape, or form, or was it just noted that as we write this, it would be acceptable? Were they part of the negotiation or part of the process?
So actually, I can't even take all of the credit for this. The work was done by Aaron, our manager of roads and fleet, as well as our lead hand, Tim Watson. They had worked together on this for probably 6 months now, putting all of the plow routes together that we had previously, as well as looking at what our existing operations are. We have had discussions with the union without being able to tell them what our plans were involving Front of Young, because that hadn't been agreed to by council or determined yet at that point. But they had a sense of what we were working on and what our objectives were, and they were generally supportive of that.
To clarify the comment you made, the lead hand, Tim Watson, who was involved in putting together this winter control, is a member of the union. Yes. And I believe he is one of the union reps, or he was. So I apologize.
Then thank you very much. And I think that satisfies my question for next year. Thank you.
Further comments or questions? Councillor Jameson?
It says here, Your Worship, that we're thinking in terms of an update every 4 years, but we did not see anything like this 4 years ago, or perhaps 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I think it should be noted that we've turned a very big corner seeing a document of this specificity moving forward. So I really appreciate the work that everybody's done to get us here. And I'm looking forward to sending to everybody that asks me about whether the road was plowed yesterday, every time. Please read this and I'll answer any questions. Thank you.
I think just to add to that, I know that there's been a real shift, not to stray too far from the motion at hand, but there's been a real shift to that ongoing revisitation that needs to happen on a more regular basis, whether it be in planning, whether it be in operations, parks, what have you. But I think it's part of that asset management mentality that we keep a finger on the pulse on a regular basis. So to your point, Councillor Jameson, I know that in the Public Works Department, they're very keyed into the thought that we need to revisit this and try to keep getting it better. Whatever's working, it doesn't preclude making changes prior to that 4-year time frame, but that it's put in writing that we have to revisit it if we haven't already. So holds us accountable. Go ahead, Councillor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the Director of Operations. With that topic vein in mind, it's been greatly appreciated, the revisiting of road graders to gravel roads after the dust suppressant was applied in, I would say, early May, mid-May. The road graders were out our way. I don't know what all roads they did cover, but I would say that happened in mid to third week of June. And the roads at that time were starting to get pitted pretty bad. Since that revisit, I guess you would say, of the road graders, the roads still look good. A lot to do with the fact we haven't had rain in that length of time as well, but it didn't go unnoticed by a lot of people. I heard numerous compliments maybe is a better word.
Thank you for those comments. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to Director of Operations. Table 1, the snow clearing. When I first read it, I wasn't quite sure how it was working. Is there any clarification on how that works 100%? Thank you. Table 1, it's on page 13, I believe. It's actually page 11 on document.
So it's like,
yeah, it's table 1, snow clearing.
Yes, so this, thank you, through your worship. Table 1, this comes directly from the minimum maintenance standards, where the classification of road, so a classification of road is based on its speed as well as its traffic count. Here at the municipality, we've been undertaking traffic counts since I came here, and we're establishing what our classification of the roads is. So you see class 4, 5, and 6. That's predominantly where we land, is in that we don't have any provincial highways or county roads that we account for. So we're in that 4 to 6 range. So what this means is that when the snow has accumulated to a point of 8 centimeters, 3 inches for the more old school, that we have to respond within 16 hours. So 8 centimeters or 16 hours, we have to respond.
Right.
And then the surface should be cleared, Center Bear track as an example, within 24 hours. So that's from when we first go out, or when the storm first hits.
Yeah.
That's when we are activated,
Yes.
and that's when it is to be completed.
Okay, appreciate that very much. Thank you.
any further questions in regards to the winter control plan as presented? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. So now the fun begins. Motions coming forward, moved by Councillor Gorell, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that the council hereby appoints Councillor Blank as deputy mayor until November 2024. So there is a blank here for a reason. I'm going to take nominations from the floor and then ask if they would let their name stand. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I select Terry Fody to run for deputy mayor if he so wishes.
Okay. Mr. Fody, will you let your name stand? Well, the thing is before.
I did this once before. Yes, I will let my name
Okay.
stand. Thank you.
Okay. Any other nominations for deputy mayor? Go ahead, Ms. Kelman.
Thank you, Worship. And for you, I would like to nominate Councillor Jameson.
Okay, Councillor Jameson. Mr. Jameson, will you let your name stand?
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. I'll turn my microphone on. I mean, I'm going to run a meeting if I can't get the microphone on. Thank you, Councillor Kelman. I'll withdraw my name at this time. Thank you.
Okay, so we're back to one. Any other suggestions for deputy mayor? Seeing no other suggestions. Last call. I'm going to put Mr. Fode's name down as deputy mayor at this time. And this again is until November 2024. So we're in 2023. It's another year. So it's a 2-year term in total. And at that time, we'll revisit and reappoint at that time. So the motion reads, moved by Councillor Grell, seconded by Councillor Kelman. The council hereby appoints Councillor Fode as deputy mayor until November 2024. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Congratulations, Councillor Fode. Deputy Mayor Fode.
Thank you. I'd like to thank my nominator, Councillor Maybe, and longtime friend and fellow colleague and all the above. And I appreciate the confidence of my colleagues. Thank you.
Okay. And moving on to the next item, which is appointment of Cataraqui Conservation Full Authority Board member. Moved by Councillor Lackey, seconded by Councillor Grell, that council hereby appoints Councillor blank to be the Cataraqui Conservation Full Authority Board. Go ahead, Councillor Lackey.
Sorry, Your Worship, just to go back to our previous, the deputy mayor,
Yes.
should now be the time that we also turn the alternate for county to the deputy mayor as well?
Yes, we have to have a motion come forward that appoints them at the county level. You're absolutely right. In order for them to be sworn in at the county, we have to have direction from council to have this person be the alternate at the county. Otherwise, they won't recognize it, I think. How about we deal with this motion and you can. Because there is a technicality there and maybe we're wrong, but I know what you're trying to say. Fair enough. So the motion that's on the floor is in regards to appointing the counselor, a counselor to the Cataraqui Conservation Full Authority Board. Suggestions from the floor no, go ahead, Councillor Jameson.
My turn to get even. I'd like to propose Councillor Kelman for this role if she would so consider.
Okay. Ms. Kelman, will you let your name stand?
Thank you, Councillor Jameson. I will, because I think we should have council representation on the board for the CRCA. And if I have to do it, I will do it.
We thank you very much for letting your name stand. The only caution and I don't know who to ask because the person I would ask is no longer with us. I'm not quite sure when their board meetings are, and that might be a conflict, but if it is, please let us know and we can make alternative arrangements. So Councillor Kelman is leaving her name forward. Any other nominations for the Cataraqui Conservation Full Authority Board? Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor Fode.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Grell, you had indicated in a open discussion period last maybe budget time that you have interest in this. Is that still the case? I don't want to nominate you if that's not the case.
I take a great interest in the issues that come before, but I would not stand for sitting on the full authority board.
Okay.
That's my understanding, but thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the clarity.
Okay.
I would, I wouldn't be against the idea of nominating, or pardon me, looking for someone from the general public through the member exemption request. We had a presentation last week and there were people that seemed to say they would step up for various things, and perhaps sitting on that full authority board would be something someone in the community would like to do, as opposed to, it is interesting when you read the documentation that it seems that the province seems somewhat more positive toward a council person with the 70% rule. It struck me as very odd. Once again, does it apply to small municipalities? But anyway, I would be in favor of putting it out to the community. Thank you.
So the motion, unfortunately, that is in front of us is to appoint a counselor at this point. So if you wanted to go that route, this would have to be defeated and we'd have to have a subsequent motion to come forward to seek applications. So before we do that, go ahead.
Then I would be a little more direct than that. I would like to understand or like to hear council's thoughts on going out to the public and saying, hey, we're looking for someone to join the full authority board, and we'll stand behind a recommendation and go through the process of the member exemption request to the minister.
So
Does that have any interest at this council that we could then proceed one way or the other with this motion? Thank you.
So in light of the fact of the way that the motion is written, I'm going to ask that it be tabled so that we can have this discussion, because it's different than what the motion is on the floor. So I don't want to confuse the two issues. So I need a mover to table it. Like then after this discussion, after the subsequent discussion about appointing a potential member from the public. We're going to have that discussion here in a second. So Councillor Foti.
Thank you, Your Worship. The obvious question, can we appoint both, one of our own members of council and someone from the
We only
public?
have one
No.
spot.
Okay. I was afraid of that answer.
Okay, so Councillor Lackey.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, my only problem with having a member of the public is will they represent this council or will they represent their own interests? I think having someone from this council has a feeling of what is the general consensus around this table, whereas perhaps a resident is kind of going off in a different direction than we would.
Okay. Rather than table this, I'm just going to let the discussion go, and because it is pertaining to, and then we'll get to the appointment. Go ahead, Councillor James.
So the only thing to Councillor Lackey's point, which is a good point, the only thing I'd say, when you join a board, you really are responsible for supporting the direction of that board, policies of that board or whatever, not necessarily prejudice to a council or a particular interest of your own. So one of the things that we look for, I think, when we appoint a member of council to a board like that, is to ensure that we are getting the communication directly to us, which is much easier within this construct than it is to expect a citizen to do that. But it is, if whoever goes on that board becomes the champion of the governance of that board, not basically a mouthpiece for us, if I can put it on. I know that's not what you meant, but that's in its worst case, it becomes you bang the table for this council, which I know Councillor Kelman wouldn't do, but there is that distinction that we should be aware of.
Okay, so at this point, there is a councillor that's willing to let their name stand to be the representative in the Cataraqui Conservation Full Authority Board. Any further discussion in regards to going to defeating this motion and then going out to the public, which would not be a besmirch on Councillor Kelman's point. But if the council wants to go that way, that's why I wanted to table and have the discussion about. But anyways, here we are. Go ahead, Councillor James.
So just to say, I know that the discussion is not a reflection of support for Councillor Kelman. If council just wants to take a little more time to maybe better understand exactly what it is we'd be doing with the choices, makes
So
more sense to table it now, have a little more discussion on the matter, and then come back and determine which route council is more comfortable going with.
would it be prudent, Madam Clerk, to table this till the August 24th meeting?
Through your worship, that's fine.
Okay. Is that what you're, or defer?
May I just,
not table? Defer, sorry. Go ahead.
My apologies. May comment through you, Your Worship. It dawns on me a month or so ago, we had someone appointed to the water source subcommittee of the conservation, and that person had expertise in a certain area. And there's no reason that we couldn't find someone in the public with a certain expertise, not necessarily an agenda, but an expertise that would lend itself to the work of the Cataraqui Full Authority Board, because everything you read from the province says as approved by the Full Authority Board. The province likes to make sure that it's the Full Authority Board that makes these quote decisions and policy matters. So it seems logical to me that we reach out and see if there's someone with engineering, whatever it is, hydraulics, and ask them if they would be interested. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion that's coming forward is to defer this motion to August 24th, 2023 meeting. So I'll call the question on the motion to defer. All those in favor? All those opposed? It's carried. So we will look into this as per the discussion today in regards to what it would take to appoint a member at large if as a representative for TLTI. And we'll have some discussion with the senior management team to figure out how that might happen and how we might be able to do that before, if at all, before August 24th. Next item is appointment to the Leeds and Thousand Islands Public Library Board, moved by Councillor Lackey, seconded by Councillor Grell, that council hereby appoints Councillor Blank to the Leeds and Thousand Islands Public Library Board, and that council grant 3 readings and final passage to bylaw number 23-047, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 23-008, to make appointments to the committee and boards established by the Corporation of the Township of Leeds and Thousand Islands. So I will go to the floor again for a member of council to be appointed to this board. Go ahead, Councillor Fody.
Thank you, Worship. I nominate Mark Jameson. Mark has been on this board for a number of years, knows all the background, knows all the players, past, present, likely even the future. Does a great job, well received by the board themselves, and that's important.
So Councillor Jameson, you're being asked if your name is, if you're willing to let your name stand.
It sounds like the resume of Eddie Shack from a long time ago. I appreciate that, Councillor Fody. I decline in favor of my colleague Angela Kelman from Ward 2. And the reason I do that is because looking ahead, she has children of an age that are using the facility, unlike me. My wife goes and brings me a book. I really appreciated the opportunity to be on the board at the time. I'm very confident in the changes that we made. And when I say we, that Gordon and I were able to bring along, and at this stage, I think it's time to look to the next generation to take it on, because that is a board that will have to see some transition going into the next round, because for obvious reasons. And so let's go there. So I would like to withdraw in favor of proposing Councillor Kelman for that role. And I thank you very much, Councillor Fody.
Councillor Kelman, will you let your name stand?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I will. And this one I really want. I love the library. I'm a lifelong user of the library. My children use the library. I'm a book reader. I'm a book lover, and I do know some of the board members already, and I attended the last board meeting, and I would very much appreciate letting my name stand. Thank
Does
you.
anybody want to go up against that? I think that we have a clear willing participant. So Councillor Kelman, I shall put your name in the box that council hereby appoints Councillor Kelman to the Leeds and Thousand Islands Public Library Board, and that council grant 3 readings and final passage to bylaw number 23-047, being bylaw to amend bylaw number 23-008, to make appointments to committees and boards established by the Corporation of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Congratulations, Councillor Kelman. You are appointed to the library board, and I thank you. I will still endeavor to attend those meetings as well, schedule permitting, but I do appreciate your willingness to step on that board. Okay. Am I missing anything else? Yes, please. clarification forthcoming in regards to the appointment at the counties. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. So council has already appointed an alternate member. And if council wishes to reappoint or reappoint an alternate member to the county, I'll need direction to bring back a report to a future council meeting.
Okay, so since the deputy mayor has been awarded based on this council meeting, I would say that it is reasonable to ask the clerk to come back to the August 24th meeting with a recommendation, whatever the technicality is, as far as rescinding the bylaw to appoint our alternate. It's not a bylaw, is it? Oh, it is, sorry. So we would have to rescind the old bylaw and reappoint under a new bylaw. So the counselor or the clerk will bring that back as a report for discussion at that time. Go ahead.
Will we know, Your Worship, from this explanation from the clerk, whether it's necessary?
It is necessary that we definitely know. To Councillor Lackey's point, in order for anybody to come and represent at the county council meeting in my stead, they have to be appointed by council.
Right,
First and
we
foremost.
already have somebody who's appointed by council.
And that was our dearly departed Mr. Holkey, isn't it? Or who was it?
No, we appointed
Jeff Lackey.
Councillor Lackey
Oh,
as Councillor
my
Lackey, not as deputy mayor.
Now I know why he's asking.
Yes,
I certainly don't mind, but at least, it seems fitting that it goes along with the deputy mayor's position, but I don't mind fulfilling that until deputy mayor's next reign of terror. A year from now, when he gets it again, we make sure that position goes along with it.
Okay, I understand that sometimes you just need to throw a hammer at my head. So I've got one here if you need it. So we'll sort that out between the two of us, Madam Clerk, for the next meeting. And we'll have a conversation between. Oh, you need direction? Sorry. So I need a mover and a seconder to direct the clerk to bring back a report regarding the appointment of an alternate at county council. So Jameson, maybe. That the clerk provide council with a report regarding a new alternate. It's late in the day. Appointee for county council. Okay. My wrist is not working. My handwriting is atrocious. I apologize. So moved by Councillor Jameson, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the clerk provide council with a report regarding a new alternate appointee for the county council at the August 24th meeting. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for the technicality catch, Councillor Lackey. Okay, so on to Mayor's update. So just a special thank you to the councillors that showed today at the special event held at our Lansdowne Library, where we celebrated an Ontario Trillium Foundation grant that had been gifted to our library for in regards to resiliency after COVID. They used the grant for, I believe there was 38,000. I'm confused. 34. It was in the 30s. 34.3 that was directed towards upgrading some seating, workstations, and I would highly encourage those who weren't there today to go in and take a look at some of the furniture that's been received. It truly is sleek looking. It's a comfortable workstation with comfortable chairs, as well as more of a couch-like seating in front of said workstations. It's very modern looking, definitely an upgrade to what we had. Kudos to the board for chasing this particular grant. And I know that council in general appreciates the additional involvement of the province for these types of projects that when we have to look at our budgets every year, I know we'd love to give everybody as much money as we can, but we have to limit it somewhere. So this allows them to invest back into our library. And this is happening at all 3 branches, not just Lansdowne. I believe they were waiting on the truck for more of the items to arrive, and we were expected to lift them off, but we managed to get out unscathed. The truck did not arrive while we were there. So moving on to the next item, which is Lansdowne Fair, and it is being held July 21st to the 23rd. Opening ceremonies, I believe, are 7 p.m. on Friday night. There are a number of new events that are happening at the Lansdowne Fair. So please encourage your friends and neighbors to support our local fair. Come out. I think there's mechanical bull riding, and not that I'm going to try that, but the talent show that's also happening to showcase some of our local musicians and singers and what have you. So lots of great things, something for everyone, and it supports our community. And just a huge thank you to all those who volunteer that work very hard to host this event to make sure it happens year over year. And I believe it's 156. I'm going to blame that on Councillor Fody for at that point. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but it's been going on for quite some time. And thank you again to all the organizers. So just a reminder, calling all community organizations, we will be opening up our grants, fall grant intake from July till September, or sorry, fall intake is now open. Applications are due Friday, September the 1st. So if you know of or know someone who is looking for assistance from the municipality, please go online, look at our criteria for community grants. And if you meet those criteria, please put your name in with your project or goal for your program. And we'll see if staff will bring back a report for all the applicants. Qualifications and how they recommend we move forward. It is one of our hallmarks here in TLTI. Also visit our website to register for all of our recreation programs from July until September, including Challengers Soccer Camp, Fit and Fabulous, Fab Nature Camps, and more. So if you're looking for what's going on in a recreation sense, it is on our website. Please go or look on our social media pages as well. There will be a special council meeting held on August 24th for the Community Improvement Plan SIP presentation. A summary of the input received from residents through the open house meeting and the public survey and next steps regarding the SIP will be presented to council. So for those who attended our first Community Improvement Planning open house, we thank you for your input. There's been some other work being done in behind the scenes, I believe, hopefully we will be getting it right. So that it's really important. If you have any questions or you want to have further input, this would be another opportunity to provide feedback on what they've gathered so far. Just a quick reminder, Pride weekend is also the same weekend in Gananoque on the 21st to the 23rd. And I know there's a number of huge events that are going on there. So please keep both of the events in your mind if you have the chance to attend. And I just wanted to also earmark that Kendricks Park is open and ready for business and has been for a while. And I know that during this heat, we've had a number of people going out and using our facility. Also wanted to remind people that the splash pad here in Lansdowne is going. As I was at the library today, I heard the water running and splashing and what have you. So if you're struggling with this heat and humidity, please check out those two facilities to cool off. And that's all I have right at the moment. Are there any other? Go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor Fody, and then Councillor Jameson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a little highlight. I took the opportunity to drop by the Ontario Bicycle Cup race this past Saturday for the last hour and a half, and impressive, I guess would be the word. I found out afterward, I watched the professionals, I guess you would say. I saw the last elite group race. There was approximately 30 of them in two large groups. The impressive numbers quickly, they averaged 44 kilometers an hour for over 3 hours. That was their average. not without a few pitfalls like flat tires and fatigue and a few things like that. Talking to a number of the people at the finish line that were supporters, parents, spouses. These people came from Windsor, Gatineau, Quebec, because they're part of the Ottawa group, but basically across Ontario. The real keynote was this gentleman come up to me at the checkpoint out at Paul Dornbos's business, where they had the checkpoint because of the circular track that they had. That was the checkpoint that told the riders how many laps were left. This gentleman come up to me while I was there when he found out I was a member of council, and couldn't bestow enough gratitude and thanks to our staff for what they had done to expedite and make it so easy, in his words, to work here. This gentleman represents performance sports. He organizes sporting events of all kinds everywhere in the province. He was so excited that I circled the conversation back around after the event was over and talking to the people at the finish line that the provincial finals are being held on long weekend in August, first few days of August, last few days of July, up in North Bay, which attracts hundreds of people. I threw our welcome mat out that if they are so pleased at what we offered this past Saturday, feel free to approach us with what you have to offer for a provincial final. He says that will be a guarantee. He said, we'll reach back to you. He said, we plan these years in advance. And the average stay from one volunteer that was there, his son was riding. He used to ride and now his son rides, and he follows him and encourages him. He's on the professional level seeking to represent Canada at the Olympics. And his words were, they've done their homework. The average person attending these spends $200 a day in the community, and they're here. They moved in Thursday night and didn't leave till Sunday afternoon. So it's a huge spin off to restaurants and motels in the area. So, and it's a clean event. It's I want to thank all the residents that were involved on the roads that the course was on. They saw them approximately every 18 minutes, but all organizers said our residents were very courteous and polite, and it went off flawlessly.
Thank you. Councillor Jameson.
I'm sorry, Your Worship, I was misinterpreting the agenda. I apologize. No,
You're asleep at the wheel.
I was looking at the Lansdowne Fair and noticed that my suggestion that there be a Ward 1 councillor dunk tank was turned down again this year. Okay, thank you.
We'll just put that under announcements. No, nobody needs to see me dunked. Anyways, my hair is frizzy enough on a good day. Councillor, maybe go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I know that you mentioned about the Pride event in Gann, but it does actually cover from the 17th to the 23rd. Since I have one of my organizers is close to me on that. And so it's there is a parade on the Saturday and an event down at the berm on that particular day for those people who feel so inclined. And then again, we won't be here again or meet. So happy August 1st to all those who participate in some sort of activity that day.
Any other announcements? Just might also say that because I won't see council prior before now and then, I am headed to AMO for the 19th, 20th, 21st in London. It will be a unique event because of the way it's set up. We don't have a centralized hub with a centralized convention center. So I'm going to be running up and down streets in London and flagging down taxi cabs. So should be interesting how it's all going to work logistically. But nonetheless, the county has requested a number of delegations with the Minister of Long-Term Care, Minister of Transportation, and there's, I think, 4 we've requested. So we're just waiting on our times at this point. And I'll report back to council in regards to those delegations. So last but not least is bylaws. I would like to underscore that under 14.2 bylaw number 23-045, before I read the 3 readings and final passage, again to welcome our new treasurer. And this is where I joke that we're putting the golden handcuffs on him, is the appointment as our Director of Corporate Services and our treasurer. So thank you again, Phil, for joining us here at TLTI. And we look forward to many, many years of dedicated service. No expectation there. With that, motion comes forward from Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Lackey, that 3 readings and final passage be granted to bylaws number not. Yeah, that's what 23, which one? Okay, so that readings and final passage be granted to bylaws number 23-040, 23-045, and 23-047. So 23-046 is being removed at this point in time because it's been deferred. And that 3 readings and final passage be granted to bylaw number 23-048, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of corporation of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands at its July 4th committee, the whole meeting, and July 10th council meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Next motion is adjournment coming from Councillor Lackey, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that council adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Thank you, everyone. Happy summer.